point of the show was to take a quantity that everybody knows about through countless repetitions, namely seeing models selling or pawning one thing or another, and taking a look at it from a different viewpoint by talking to people, hopefully intelligently, and finding out what it's like to be a model, how you get into the business, and a little bit about behind the scenes of modeling. And the larger question of what models mean in terms of our society, why we have such a fascination with beauty and with pretty faces, and why they sell so many products. Speaking of the industry as a whole, it's got to be an activity that can be tough on your mind at times, accepting the fact that you're not always going to be able to be the star and to be called.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I've been working a lot longer than these gals have. And I think that the longer you work, it's like with any job that you do, the longer you work at it, the more professional you become about it, and the more you think about it as a job. And if you lose it, it's because your ability isn't there or your look isn't there. I've gone to many jobs and they'll say, you're terrific, but we need somebody with more brunette hair coloring. Or you go to another one, they say your eyes are too blue, and then your next one, your eyes aren't blue enough. And there is really no ego problem there after a while. In the beginning, it's disastrous.
It's awful.
And you think it's
you know,
that's
my
being
hair's not right,
rejected.
my eyes are not right, and it's just, I think you become immune to it after a while. It's not a personal attack on you. It's just, it's just not what they're looking for. And I think when you start out,
Slightest imperfection seems
you know, you really start.
grand.
It's really tough on your ego.
It's
to do.
You are a product. Models are a product. But when you're starting, you don't think of yourself that way. You think of yourself as me, I the individual, but it isn't. It's, you are that hanger, you are that product.
Rights of the Sea was a documentary show that we did about a local topic. We tried to show the fisherman's point of view, and
what the show was about was the offshore oil drilling controversy and how it would affect the fishermen directly and eventually the community around it.
yeah, we went up to Gloucester. We did a remote, which was, we took the cameras up there. We spent a day up there, but before we went up there, we spent like almost 2 weeks production, well, researching and talking. We practically talked to half the town. It was really wild because we had to really research this to know what questions to ask who and to get all the people together.
How do you feel about offshore oil drilling?
Well, I'm against it because I don't think they're ready for it in the shallow waters of Georges Banks. You know, only takes one mistake and they'll wipe out the biggest fish breeding area in the whole wide world, you know, and everybody makes mistakes.
Well, I try to think positive because I don't think there's much we're going to do about it. They're going to be there no matter what. So there's one way of looking at it. In the wintertime, you figure there's nobody else out there. They'll be there for sure. In case of emergency or something, need help. Other than that, I don't know, I fish for them down south. I know it's a big difference in the Gulf compared to here, but they seem to get along fine as kind down there.
Well, I don't know too much about the New England states, but down where I come from, they're putting in an oil refinery. But we don't think too much of it because, for one thing, you get that oil on the bottom, that gets sloshing around, you're going to ruin everything. They don't have any good methods at the time to clean it up. And unless they find a good method to clean it up, I think they ought to stop.
It's the spillage from exploratory drilling that has caused and can cause the most damage. And this is what we're dreading most of all. There's nothing to cover the loss of fish, the loss of supply of fish, or the destruction of whole classes of fish for years to come.
For over 350 years, fishing has been an important industry in New England. But now there's new competition in these waters, the search for energy. I'm Noel Collins, here on a fishing boat in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Well, our host was Noel Collins, and he's a student from UMass. What we did when we found out, we hadn't planned on having a host at first, but when we found out that we needed a host, we set up interviews. We had 20 applicants, and we chose him. We really didn't know him prior to that, but he worked out well. I was glad. Well, I don't know what his plans are now, but I think he really enjoyed working as a host for the night shift.
In meeting Tom Ellis.
Meeting Tom Ellis, yes, that was his high point of the evening.
This year, NightShift producers had a new piece of equipment available to them, a mobile production truck affectionately called the Hippo. The Hippo carries its power supply, cameras, videotape recorders, a switcher, and an audio board. As you can see, there is not an inch of space wasted here. Let's take a closer look at how Channel 5 creates a masterpiece with the Hippo.
I think the editing was a really difficult time. It's hard to have someone who doesn't know anything about the program be able to understand what you want to do and help you that way.
Well, we learned a lot about the editing process. Usually we deal with the print media at Northeastern, and you just edit the copy and that's it. But here at Channel 5 when we were doing it, it has, there's a certain amount of time that you have to do it in. And the deadline, I think, has more pressure than the print media. Here, there's only like an hour to do, loads and loads of tape. And when we first came here, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't realize that we had to know exactly how many minutes and how many seconds into the film that we would have to edit. And so consequently, we had a little bit of a problem, but I guess it came out pretty well in the long run.